It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a big time mess. So,
Sorry to drag you back into it.
yeah, it's okay. I mean, it was a little stressful. With the way the games were going, I was thinking, oh, maybe we could start early, but it was very complicated to try and untangle all this. So, obviously, we have some drops. I have Indiana, and remember, we were using the AP Top 25 for this exercise. We can discuss college football playoff as well, but some things might be a spot or two off because of that. I've got Indiana at 10. That is one spot behind Boise State. That is one spot ahead of SMU.
I think they'll fall further.
I've got Arizona State up to 12, just to show you what the middle of the rankings is looking like right now after a chaotic day.
I think that plays.
I don't think Indiana will fall behind Arizona State. I don't think one-loss Indiana is falling behind two-loss Arizona State.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So we've
Indiana
got
got helped out by everybody losing.
Right. We've got kind of a high floor. I mean, in your head, you're going to be like, oh, we're going to banish Indiana 10 spots. But with everything else that happened, I've got them falling basically into that realm where Miami, Boise State, and SMU are all there. They are all one-loss teams that are lacking for a lot of high-end wins, because what Indiana is now is a one-loss team that is lacking for high-end wins.
And based on our conversation earlier, I'm assuming you have Penn State still at number 4 with Notre Dame.
Yeah, but I hear your argument that could end up swapping.
I just think that, Army, like, we can do the power rating discussion all we want, but Army's ranked 18th. They were undefeated, and Notre Dame splattered them. So they might get a bump from some voters because of that. Georgia, you have up to 6.
Let's see. Georgia, I have up to 6.
Speaking of teams that should be happy with the way the rest of the day went.
Nobody's going to talk about UMass.
Nobody's going to talk about UMass doing. I mean, I understand that in a game like this, you're going to be prone to just kind of relaxing a little bit. But UMass ran for 226 yards on you and averaged nearly 6 yards per carry.
So I agree. But, UMass plus 24.5 in the first half the whole way, waltz it to the window.
I know you were cashing that ticket when they scored to win up 7-0.
I just pulled this up. On the voting points, the tier cutoff was kind of between Indiana and Notre Dame. So there would be a lot of work. A lot of minds would have had to be changed to see a swap where Notre Dame jumps up ahead of Penn State, what I wrote in the Tomorrow's Top 25 story was, sometimes on a day where all these other teams are losing in very similar spots, the fact that you were the top team that did not can make you stand out a little bit more.
Yeah.
So let's see. Georgia up to 6. Everybody else kind of moves up in order. As I mentioned, Arizona State makes a jump from 21 to 12. That's got them ahead of Clemson. Best win for the Tigers might be Pitt. You've got some room to move up, but that's it's tricky to be able to grab on to, good wins.
Yeah, you're moving up, but it's not for anything you did.
Correct. I mean, obviously they played the Citadel. But behind Clemson is where I've got Alabama and Ole Miss falling. Alabama's win against South Carolina, as Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina, all 3 lost teams. Texas A&M as well. Some of those head-to-head results fit. Alabama ahead of Ole Miss, as both teams lost on the road, both teams as double-digit favorites. And if the same AP Top 25 voters had Alabama 7 and Ole Miss 9, they ain't going to change that order when they drop all those teams down. So I've got them landing around that 14 to 18 type range, which will then take you into Tulane, then BYU, just ahead of Iowa State, UNLV, Illinois, Missouri, and then Kansas State. And I've got Army still in right now.
Ooh.
Colorado might be near the cut, but they're going to be behind Kansas State. Memphis is your other option right there.
It's kind. I mean, we are at the time of the year where when you get to that bottom 5 in there, it's bleak. There's going to be some mid-ass teams in there.
I mean, Syracuse did win.
Louisville
did win. And then that's it. Like those are the teams based on last week's voting who are going to get a look. So I think that those teams, what are you going to do? Like Army has 1 loss. I think they'll end up on enough ballots to be able to stay inside the top 25.
Not saying they don't deserve to. I'm not saying I wouldn't. But I do tell you right now, there will be voters who look at their resume and say they've played 1 good team and they lost by 35.
I understand.
What happened when Navy lost?
There will also be voters who say, I think Notre Dame's awesome, and you lost to Notre Dame the same way that everybody else loses to Notre Dame.
All the people who say that never mind. I'm not going to make that joke.
Also, to be fair, if Washington State doesn't lose the Pac-12 championship to Oregon State, then Army's not ranked. But
True.
It's just you open up that spot trying to, make decisions there. I decided Army was the pick, but there are a number of teams that could land there. I didn't get a chance to get late night CW action for Oregon State, Washington State.
It was a fun game.
But I saw Pac-12 refs are back.
Finally. You know, they did Pac-12 After Dark some justice.
I look forward to checking that one out tomorrow. It was for Oregon State much needed. Been a bad year.
Started fun and went to shit.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. What else? Let's work in some reverse order here. Miami. Never doubt fourth quarter Miami.
What a way to cover, boys. I mean, what was that score at the end of 3?
Oh, it was 20-14.
Yeah, like that game. Yeah, it was 20-14 at halftime. Nobody scores in the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, Miami piles on 22 points, including 2 touchdowns. And all 3 touchdowns were in the last 8 minutes. So it was still 20-14 with 8 minutes to play. And then Miami goes on and covers the 24.5, whatever it finished at.